This should be played at high volume.
Welcome to Outta Pocket. Here's your host, Michael Davis.
The chase for the cup is on, and if you're looking to light the lamp, nothing beats the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps. DraftKings has you covered with same-game parlays, live bet, and odds boosts, and so much more. This week, all North Carolina customers can place a pregame moneyline bet on Carolina, and if they lead by at least 2 goals at any time during the game, you win, even if they end up losing the game. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Tobacco Road. New customers bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's code Tobacco Road only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 877-1855-43 or visit 21 plus, North Carolina only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. One early win per opt-in customer. Max bet limits apply. Token expires at the start of the game. See dkng.co/ice for wagering eligibility and terms. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get out of pocket. I'm your host, Michael Davis, joined by Shawn Lucas from the Grit and Grind High School Football Podcast, joined by back-to-back days. We're in for a treat. The host of the Two Pointers Podcast wearing an interesting ball cap on the show today, Trevor Everette, and produced by the one and only Tobacco Road Sports Radio's Desmond Johnson. Now, one thing I want to bring up is, we talked yesterday about the Hornets hiring their new head coach, but the Phoenix Suns, right after we went off air, it never fails to happen, break the news that Frank Vogel is fired. And I wanted to start the show today with not only a reaction about him getting fired, but it seems like a trend where the Lakers last week fired Darvin Ham because the team didn't perform well. But you are relying on LeBron James and Anthony Davis and company, and LeBron basically runs that team. Well, then you have Frank Vogel, who was the Lakers head coach, and then he got fired, but now he's in Phoenix, or now he's out of Phoenix, because guys like Devin Booker and Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant just underperformed. So here's my take. Here's my opinion. I want you guys to tell me if it's in pocket or out of pocket. I don't know if NBA coaching matters anymore, or if teams are allowing that to happen. I feel like all these coaches are, except for the rare instance of Eric Spoelstra in Miami or Greg Popovich in San Antonio. I feel like coaching now is just so teams have a scapegoat when their stars underperform. Shawn, what are your thoughts when you hear that statement?
I think you're definitely in pocket with that, Mike, because we're seeing it as a trend more and more. I was doing some research today, and I look at when the Big Three era kind of really got ramped up, going back to the '08 Celtics when we really started talking about Big Threes again. They won that year against the Lakers team that had a brand new Paul Gasol, came in at the All-Star weekend. And also, they came back, lost that next year against the Lakers. But then you look at the year with Dwayne, Bosh, and Wade with Levin, Eric Spoelstra. They lost that first year against Dallas. So you see this, but the difference between Doc Rivers with that team with the Celtics and even now with Eric Spoelstra with the Heat is that they gave it time. And I felt like the Suns, you took Booker, KD, and brought in Bradley Beal. You brought in KD last season, and you piecemeal the team and said, hey, go get over, go win the championship, bring us back something. It was unable to be done. I mean, to me, I think Frank Vogel's a good coach. I just felt like he was the victim of a circumstance of, like I said, the scapegoat for these guys. So that's how I feel. I feel like that's what they're doing now, and starting to get scared with coaching in the NBA right now. For if you got a superstar team, I wouldn't want to coach it.
Yeah. Trevor, you're wearing a Suns hat. I gotta ask, you're a Lakers guy. Why are you wearing a Suns hat on Out of Pocket? We got video on this, right?
Yeah, man. So here's why I'm wearing this. I am wearing this because this is the last time. I think this one's dated as like an early 2000s era when I bought it. I think I like vintage retro NBA stuff, man. You can see the trophy case to the right here. But I'm wearing this because this is the last time this team was competent. Like, I'm wearing this because Phoenix Suns fans should be thinking about how bad of a place this franchise is in right now, where your star players only play, let me pull this up and make sure I had it right, I believe they only played 30 games together as a unit in totality. I hope that number's right. I'm pulling it from Andrew Peters and Bleacher Report, but they've only played 30 games together, and so like it's just a travesty to think that like a coach of Frank Vogel's caliber, championship level, let's just call it what it is. He won a championship, for crying out loud. He's an incredible defensive coach. I know that there's like the star thing, and Shawn made some really incredible points about like where we've reached with how the players feel. I think Michael, you alluded to it at the beginning as well, where players are kind of like they're going to control everything, and that's just kind of the era we're in right now. My only issue is it's reached its peak where I think this is ridiculous that a 49-win team in a ridiculous Western Conference where they were the 6th seed this year gets fired. Under no circumstance should a coach who won 49 games get fired like that. And it's not his fault that the surrounding roster, because of the way the franchise was built, which is how I started my point, is the NBA equivalent of the island of misfit toys. Like that is the equivalent of the rest of that roster. I don't care that Grayson Allen got paid 4 years, $70 million. He's not worth that. I don't care if Yusuf Nurkic is overpaid for what the contract was 3 years ago. He's overpaid. He's not contributing. Eric Gordon is closer to 40 than he is to 30. Like this team is terrible outside of those top three, and I'm one of the biggest Devin Booker fans you're going to find that's not a Suns fan. So it's a ridiculous direction that this franchise is headed, and to fire a 49-win head coach because there may be some riff with your like it's just stupid.
Yep, that settled it. That was the period, the exclamation point right there. Trevor holding nothing back when saying that the Suns were last relevant during Steve Nash days.
Honestly, this hat might be they were. I mean, of course, Devin Booker. Yeah, you're probably right. Actually, now that I think about it, I mean, Steve Nash he left right there in the late 2000s, right? Yeah, he left in the late 2000s. So, yeah, that's probably the last time this hat was relevant, and so was the Suns.
I don't think the coaching is irrelevant in the NBA. I think it doesn't matter to those stars, those particular stars, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Draymond Green, like that group of guys that are in their mid-30s that have been in the league for the past 12 to 15 years. I think to those guys, coaching just doesn't really matter. They're set in their way. They're going to do what they're going to do. They're going to run the huddle and everything else regardless, which is probably why they're all sitting at home right now in the second round of the NBA playoffs, because they don't listen to their coaches, and that's why their coaches have been fired. They're really – I understand the Darvin Ham because it felt like there was a disconnect between him and the team by the time we got to the end of this season. But even with that, Ham led the Lakers to the Western Conference Finals as a 7th seed last year out of the play-in. I mean, what do you want him to do? Like, you traded in the middle of the year and redid the roster, and he got that group to the finals, and then you gave him this whole year, and he just tinkered with too much stuff. And if you irritate LeBron and AD, they're not going to say it out loud at a press conference. They'll just kind of give subliminals. Like, they'll just sneak this pretty much until upper management understands and they get rid of him. I don't know who's going to come in and coach the Lakers. As for the Suns, I kind of thought that was going to be a doomed experiment from the beginning. Bradley Beal is not who people think he is. Like, he is not a top 10 all-star type player. He's a good shooter. He's a good player. But the past couple of years, he's been injured. So you haven't really had him on the court. KD is going to be KD, but KD is not a leader per se. KD is a sniper. Like, he's an assassin. He is not a general. Like, he will go and he will follow orders and that kind of thing, but he's not one to lead the troops into battle. Like, we've learned that at this point. And then Devin Booker's best shot was 2021 with the team he had around him then. Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton and Cam Johnson and, Mikal Bridges. Like, they should have kept that core together and built on it instead of tearing it all down and trying to build a big three around Devin Booker. So to me, coaching wasn't the problem in Phoenix. Lack of availability for the players was the problem in Phoenix. And in LA, it was just a disconnect with the coach and the players, where if you're not on LeBron's good side early and stay there, you're on a run clock to begin with. I hear the joke that Eric Spoelstra is the only one that LeBron hasn't got fired or whatever, but that's because LeBron left. He left. He left Miami. It wasn't because he liked Eric Spoelstra so much. He left and went back to Cleveland. Like, if he had stayed in Miami another 2 years, Eric Spoelstra would not be the coach of the Miami Heat right now.
Well, that's true, because LeBron did want Spo fired, and Pat Riley put his foot down. He's like, Spo's not getting fired. Like,
that's part of the reason why LeBron left. I mean, we're dealing with that segment. I'm looking at this generation of stars that are kind of getting phased out now. The James Hardens, the Russell Westbrooks, and they feel kind of like
diva.
Diva's not
the NBA is Real Housewives, guys. Let's just be upfront about it. It's a soap opera. It really is. That's how it is.
I'm gonna look back on this generation and just be like, this is the generation that ushered in the whole second place is okay. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that narrative is out there today where it's like, LeBron getting to the NBA Finals 10 times is just as good as Jordan winning it 6 times. And I'm like, it's not. It really is not. It's not the same thing at all. And that narrative has been pushed through that generation of those players that are getting there now. The only one that I won't put that on is Steph Curry. But everybody else has bounced around looking for an easy path, getting to the finals, winning it, teaming up with their buddies. You know what I mean? Like, there's no killer instinct in any of these players because they're all friends. Like, they all hang out in the off season. So it's like, I don't know how you fix it. The young group coming in now.
That's what I was just about to say.
Now they're different. John Morant, like those boys are different. They're wired differently. But this group that's in right now, to be honest, I'm getting to the point where I'm like, maybe some of y'all should start walking off into the sunset and stop affecting your legacies by hanging around.
What's crazy is these guys watch the ones you're talking about, like not growing up necessarily, but they watch them a lot. Like it's kind of interesting. It's really weird, like how
LeBron wears 23. I'm
talking about
number 23.
I'm talking about Anthony Edwards and guys like that who watched Kevin Durant growing up.
Right? Yeah,
it's weird.
That's
it's like
the
correlation. So
that's the guy I got my hope in Ant-Man. I'm hoping Ant-Man brings back that old school NBA that we had up in the 90s with Jordan, Barkley, Patrick Ewing, where guys didn't link up to go get on the super team. You stayed where you at. You built that team around a franchise player, and they won a championship.
You didn't look for
and we saw that with Denver. We seen that with Denver last year.
Yeah.
But I feel like the T-Wolves are taking that direction of bringing it back to where we wanted to
go. I want to just pile a little bit more, or I guess continue to kick Phoenix while they're down because they deserve this. To Dez's point in that nice, fun monologue he just gave us, Beal talking about like the top 10 thing. He's not even top 10 shooting guard, so I just want to make that abundantly clear. Yeah. So I hope you were referring to top 10 shooting guard there. Like he was never a top 10 player. Yeah, he was never a top 10 anything, and even in the Washington days. And Washington fans will tell you that. Michael, you're processing. I can think of. We can do this right now if you want, but I don't.
Shooting guards.
We can. We can do it later, you and me. But and then the only thing KD's sniping nowadays is championship hopes of franchises that he plays for.
So, he hasn't been past the second round since he left Golden State. And look who he's teamed up with since then. He's teamed up with Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and he hasn't been past the second round. Is that coaching? I think it's you. I think it's you.
It's kind of crazy because and Des, you and I have been talking about the last couple of weeks in Tobacco Road where you brought this up, like there is that almost changing of the guard where all these like superstar, and I'll call them divas, of like, hey, let's get the coach fired because we didn't show up on the court and we shot like 35% in a playoff game, or we were like, our leg hurts, let's sit out this one. It doesn't matter. There's definitely a different vibe in terms of the players today, but that's showing what we had last night. The Cavaliers and the Celtics. Cavaliers not laying down because Boston was a 1 seed, and we don't have Carson on the show today, but I'm sure he's hurting. But Derek bringing it up here, only caught a bit of the game last night, but some of my coworkers mentioned the Celtics looked off around halftime. I wonder if you guys have any thoughts on Derek Polly's comment about the Celtics looking off at halftime. Did you get weird vibes from the Boston Celtics?
They've done that before, like this group. I don't know if it was really surprising, but they've done this before where they just no-show a playoff game for some reason, and then they're all like weird at the press conference. We're like, oh well, it's y'all.
We saw that game 2 of Miami.
Yeah,
game 2 of Miami. They did the same thing.
Same thing. Like so,
I still got Boston winning this series. I just think Cleveland doesn't match up well with them. I know Mitchell went off, but it's typical Boston.
Yeah, Boston won what 63 games this year. They're the overall 1 seed. So, it's weird, though, because I could see the Knicks actually beating the Celtics, but the Knicks are running out of bodies. Like, I'm not sure they're going to have enough to get to the end. I really like them, but I don't know if they can beat the Celtics. It's going to kind of turn into whoever comes out the Western Conference to me because I don't trust Boston.
Oh.
Like, I really don't. After last night, it's like,
they're the only team you can trust that's left, though, because of the Knicks' health. If they make it out of this series, they're making the finals. Let's just be upfront about that.
I trust Minnesota before any of these teams.
I'm talking about you said make.
In the East,
did you not?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's what I was making sure.
Oh, yeah.
I can't necessarily speak for halftime, but scoring 14 or 16 points in the fourth quarter. It's just unexcusable for this good of a team that finished 14 games better than the second seed. And to quote my longtime guest on Two Pointers Podcast and friend Grayson Hill, who kept me caught up during the Celtics game, and then I was able to watch all of the Mavs game last night. To credit him, his exact words were, and I agree with it, this Boston team is the lowest floor 60-plus win team ever.
Wow.
If you really think about it, that's probably true without going into, obviously, I pulled up all the 60-win teams just to give you an idea, and there's 79 of them. We're definitely not going to do that argument, but my point is he's probably on the right path. Lowest floor 60-win team ever, and, when you score 14 points, 16 points, whatever it is in the fourth quarter, even if Donovan Mitchell doesn't have an incredible fourth quarter, you're going to lose that game.
Are you saying lowest floor or lowest ceiling?
Lowest, let me see. Let me make sure I got his text right. I'll give him fair credit because he's been incredible and he does every award show with me. They are the lowest floor 61 team in NBA history. It could be both, but yeah, lowest. No, the lowest ceiling. Think about it. They're going to make the finals more than likely.
Yeah.
Right? So the ceiling is making the finals and potentially winning it. They can beat any team. Let's give them fair credit. It's just the lowest floor, as in they could also lose this Cavs series and no one would be surprised. That's my point.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would. I don't think anyone would be surprised. And then not only did the Cavs win, but you replace Allaire and the Mavs win last night against the Thunder. Trevor, like that. I really appreciate you laughing.
I didn't know where you were going until you said it. The fact that I just completely didn't I've spaced out. I was like, what is he about to say? And it clicked. So.
Hey, I got my dad jokes prepared for when that time comes. But, I was thinking after the Cavs and the Mavs won their games last night and evened up their series, of those two teams, who do you think has the best opportunity to win their series? Or better yet, maybe a question, because, I know we've pretty much, written the Cavaliers off this week on Out Pocket. Do you give the Cavs any chance to win that series after evening up last night?
Hey Des, after calling him barbecue chicken, do you care to talk about this first?
What a line.
I didn't know the Cavs. I should have known after just saying that they do it all the time. I didn't know the Celtics were going to lay down. They've been kind of cruising through the playoffs. So the Cavs have some players. Donovan Mitchell is no joke. Jared Allen is good. They've got
Evan Mobley.
Yeah, they've got guys. They got some size. It's just I don't know what Boston team's going to show up. It's not so much the Cavaliers winning the series. It's really more how engaged is Boston. That to me, that's really the whole story of the whole thing. Because I still don't see the Cavaliers winning the series. I can see them win another game. I can see us going to 6, but I don't see the Cavs winning the series over the Celtics. I think the Celtics will start getting into issues next round in the Eastern Conference Finals. Whoever comes out of Indiana and New York, because Indiana leads the league in scoring.
They also lead the league in one of the worst defenses too. So that's
right. It's just up and down with Indiana.
Boston would rather play Indiana, as crazy as that sounds.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, I would totally believe it. Yeah, I don't think anybody really wants to see the Knicks right now, even though they're banged up. With the Mavs, Luka's hurt. Both of his legs are hurt. He's got a sprained left leg, and his other leg was all bloody last night. So he was limping around.
He fell on his face too.
Yeah, so I don't know how healthy Luka is. Now, Luka's a liability on defense anyway, which is something that's never talked about. But I don't think – I know OKC is the youngest team in the whole league, but they feel like they needed a loss. They hadn't lost yet in the playoffs. They needed something to re-engage in terms of focus. So I'm not worried about OKC getting past the Mavericks either.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you brought up about Boston, not being sure what Boston team shows up. That's a concern to me, because it's not like one of these teams where it's oh, we've won the finals before. This Boston team has not won the finals.
Right.
They've always fallen up short. Carson saying the Cavs have no chance to win their series, but
he's
Boston
just doing that.
He's
just doing that for reverse psychology. It's the only reason.
Oh
yeah. He's just doing. Don't fall for that BS.
But it's Boston, you expect them to be hey, we got bounced by a play-in team last year and we were expected to just cruise through them. You have to have a fire underneath you to actually go forward in these playoffs, because they could win this Cavs series without fire under them. Can they win it after the Knicks? The Knicks are hurt, but the Knicks are playing just about as good as basketball as anybody. And then if you get to the NBA Finals and match up against a team like Minnesota, they're hungry as well. It's a really, really difficult thing to figure it out. Like, come on. I don't understand.
So to answer your question, I'll be quick because I feel like I've talked too much. But Mavs Cavs, like, to answer which one has a better chance, I don't think either. I think Des kind of alluded to it. Like, both of them are kind of like, I'd be shocked if both of them won the series, and I feel like that's such a discredit to the two teams. But the Thunder are a better team. They just are, and I agree with Des. I think they needed that one. I think they needed a nice kick in the teeth at home. The crowd in Game 1 was incredible. Like, you could tell they were elated to be a number 1 seed, to be hosting and having a round. Like, it just felt big, right? Game 2, I don't feel like the crowd was as in it. And so I think that maybe helped a little bit for the Mavs case. Obviously, they made some really strong plays defensively in the second half to get them the win. Luka had that steal in transition that led to that Derrick Jones Jr. dunk. Like, that kind of thing is going to change the whole run there. Multiple 15-0 runs. If you're the Thunder, you're not going to win if you give up multiple 15-0 runs. So, or 15, whatever it was, 15-2, 15-3. But 15 is the point. They had to give up a ton of runs, and it just wasn't going to be the right result. Obviously, the Cavs, I feel like I'd be just continued to beat up on them, but I don't feel great about either team doing it, but I would feel better, as crazy as it sounds, I would feel better picking the Mavs only because of Luka. That's literally the only reason.
Yep. Shawn, we got a caller in. Do you think they're we should like figure out a way for people to call in dependent. Shawn, Cavs or Mavs, who has the best chance?
It's hard. If I had to pick one, I'm going to go Mavs. I just feel like Kyrie, with the experience, he could pull them to a game 7 if he got that far, if he got tied up. I don't trust the Cavs. I like Donovan Mitchell. I think he's playing lights out right now. But it goes back to what Desmond said, same thing Trevor said. If that Boston team shows up with that killer instinct and Tatum takes over, there's no way the Cavs can beat them. I know a lot of people want to get behind this OKC team, but watching the Mavs last night, I just can't get behind them yet. And I feel like if they do get to the Western Conference Finals and Minnesota's waiting on them, Minnesota's the best offensive team and defensive team in the NBA right now. Seeing what they're doing to the Nuggets, Minnesota's just going to run right through them. Minnesota
does feel, even though they're young too, they feel older than OKC. Right. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns was drafted in 2015. As the number 1 overall pick. Right. Rudy Gobert's been in the league for 6-7 years plus. Even Anthony Edwards is in year 4. So, I mean, this is meanwhile, Chet Holmgren, this is his rookie year, technically. So, I mean, like, they're technically. So, I mean, OKC's kind of like where Minnesota was last year. They just excelled more in the regular season because Minnesota was like weren't they in the play-in last year? Weren't they like the 9 seed or something like that? Yeah, the Lakers beat them. Yeah. And then, this year they took that step forward. I feel like OKC skipped that step and was just good regular season this year because they were very healthy. But now they're really seeing when a team sees you 4, 5, 6 teams in a row or games in a row, they can kind of start figuring you out and like what you're going to do. Which we saw with Minnesota in game 2 the other night, where they were basically playing 90s Bulls defense on the Nuggets, where they were just in their pockets like the whole day. Like, it just, I don't know if they can do that again tonight. It'll be fun to see if they can. But I don't trust OKC as much as I do Minnesota, if that makes any sense.
Wow. And we'll see how it goes. The Nuggets play the Timberwolves tonight. Timberwolves have a chance to go up 3-0 in that series, just like the Knicks play the Pacers, and the Knicks have a chance to go up 3-0 in that series. But before I have you guys go, there's 3 coaching vacancies here in the NBA right now. As of today, it's the Lakers, the Suns, and the Wizards. And I know I've had you guys kind of on like in bits and pieces throughout the week, kind of commenting like, okay, who could be the new Lakers coach? But with the Suns and Wizards now also as an opening, I'm going to let you guys pick one team and pick one coach you would put with that team. And let's see if this ages well. Shawn, I'll hit you with that question first.
I'll start with my Lakers. I just don't know. And as a Lakers fan saying that, it makes me worried about next season. And it makes me really start believing what Des said a week ago in Out of Pocket. We were talking about making LeBron the player coach. As bad as I don't want to see that happen, it feels like that's the way it's going to go. I'm just getting to the point now, and I like LeBron. I'm a big LeBron fan. Was glad when he came to LA. I just feel like nobody wants to coach LeBron. It's like if you come there, it's either championship or bust. And if we bust, you're out the door. I don't think a coach wants that on their resume. So I don't see anybody wanting to come. And I was looking at some coaches you could bring out of retirement to try to take this job because it's Lakers. It's a dream job. And my coach I was looking at that he would probably want to go talk to Coach K in Durham. He's not leaving Durham to go coach LeBron in the NBA. He said, I'm happy to retire. You can go right up the street to Chapel Hill, Roy Williams. Roy Williams not leaving Chapel Hill to want to come coach LeBron. There's nobody in the college that's retired or NBA that's retired. Phil Jackson, none of those guys. LeBron has just set a tone with coaches that nobody wants the job in. I think Des was right. I think the Lakers, I don't want to see him do it, but I think that's the only route we can go because he has so much power in that organization. And I'm starting to feel like now when people used to tell me 4 or 5 years ago, LeBron wants to gain all the power. I'm like, well, he needs to be involved with who he wants to build a team around, working with the GM, working with the front office. Now, looking back now, seeing it, starting to think that's a bad idea when we gave him that much power. So I don't know what the Lakers. I'm going to go with Des. I'm going with Des. Player coach, as bad as I don't want to see it. That's the way it looks like it's ending.
We'll see if Shawn's player coach ages well. And I'd like to see the comparison, LeBron as a player coach or Jordan's transition to an owner of an NBA team. Trevor Everette, you have a team and you have a coach in mind that you'd like to place on that team. We got the Lakers, Suns, and Wizards available.
I gave my Lakers answer yesterday, so here's your plug for Out of Pocket with Michael Davis. They can watch it yesterday. The Suns have basically already said they're going to hire Mike Budenholzer, so I'm going to skip that because that's clearly who they're going to get if the Lakers don't get it, because why would they fire Vogel if they immediately – like the report came out like 45 seconds after they fired Vogel. Budenholzer will be the intended target or whatever, and he clearly wants to coach again, right? He got fired for no reason in Milwaukee. I am by no means a plugged-in Wizards expert, so this one's going to be kind of we're casting a wide net here. My first call to whoever, if I'm the Wizards, especially if you're trying to figure out a rebuild, it's probably Sam Cassell, who's been an incredible. I know you're plucking assistants off Boston's bench here, right? We talked about Charles Lee yesterday. Kevin Ollie is another one. You could go down the list. If I'm them, I'm going to make Becky Hammond say no at least 3 times. Like we said with college searches like Kentucky, where you were like, hey, make Dan Hurley say no to $60 million or whatever the stupid number was they were going to give him, right? Becky Hammond has a potential to three-peat with the Aces. So I'm not sure she probably, I don't know. We'll see. I basically think that they should create a list like Becky Hammond and others. And I think they should make those guys say no multiple times. Make them say no and make that be your first choice if that's who you think it is. I'm going to land with Sam Cassell because we see this trend right now. NBA coveted assistants get jobs, and that's just what it is. Guys that did their time, basically. And so I'm going with Sam Cassell. Do I feel good about it on a scale of 1 to 10? 5.5. To the player coach thing, by the way, I don't think just really quick, I think it's an interesting thought. The only problem I have is we've reached this point where like the Lakers as a franchise and the Knicks would be the same way, the Boston Celtics would be the same way, right? Player coaches were things that happened in the 60s and 70s. While I think there's a benefit to them, I don't think in 2024, the current image of the Lakers, the current image of the Knicks, Celtics, etc., I don't think any team would ever do that, probably again, like as a player coach thing. I just think the way we look at, I know coaches have been scapegoats, especially the coaching, how unsure coaching searches are right now, like you've alluded to at the top, Michael, like you kind of led your point with. I just don't ever see a franchise like, imagine the backlash from even like Wizards fans if they did a player coach, right? Compared to, okay, let's talk about the Knicks, Lakers, whatever. I just don't see it. Talking about legacy yesterday with LeBron, I just don't see how. I don't think they would ever do anything player coach wise, but I think it would be fascinating to see.
I don't know who, to be honest, I don't know who the Lakers can go get. To the points that Shawn made earlier, like it's almost made it where you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, if you're the Lakers coach. I mean, Frank Vogel, who just got fired by the Suns, he won the title in the bubble with the Lakers, like in 2020. He has a ring with the Lakers, and he is not employed. He's been fired twice since then. So it's like, I don't know who you can get and feel comfortable with. A name I saw that was intriguing, but it won't happen for the Lakers was John Calipari. And I saw that earlier in the week, and I was like, I don't think he would just leave Arkansas after everything that's happened in Kentucky to go to the Lakers and then have to crawl back to college basketball at age 70 or whatever it is. So I think Calipari's fine where he is. I will say this, though, because there's no way for me to guess for the Lakers, the Suns, or the Wizards. All three of them will be fools if they do not interview Dawn Staley for their position. Like, I still feel like Dawn Staley needs to have a shot to be interviewed. I know she said that, I believe she said that she's not interested. I think that was the Hornets' job. But the Lakers are not the Hornets. So it's a little bit different. I can understand turning down the Wizards. I can even understand turning down the Suns. The Lakers are the Lakers. Like, the Lakers are the Yankees, the Cowboys.
That's
like,
the brand.
They're the brand. They are the NBA brand, not even the Celtics. Like, the Lakers are the only team that have been pretty much good from the 50s all the way to now. Like, they've had little pockets, but not a long stretch. You know, like the Celtics had a long stretch of not being very good in between the 80s and the Garnett Big Three or whatnot. So they had a big, like, 15-year
literally
gap.
the moment Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett left, like, I mean, that was,
And it went back down to where it was.
Those
And now
Jared Sullinger days were interesting.
Yeah, but they're kind of trying to get back to that now with Tatum and Brown and guys. But I'm talking about Celtic dominance, like they're in the finals every year type Celtic stuff. Like the Lakers, like we're here every year or near it every year. So I mean, I could see Dawn Staley kind of handling that pressure, and I could see actually LeBron and AD listening to Dawn Staley, like for some odd reason. I could see them actually paying attention to her and actually being coached by her. LeBron can't sit here and keep saying that he wants to be coached, he's coachable, he needs to have a coach, and then undermine the coach at every stop he's been to manipulate the situation to benefit him, like and his legacy. Because I feel like in the end, that's really what it all comes down to. How are we going to view LeBron James when he retires? And Charles Barkley said this on Shannon Sharp's podcast this week. I watched the episode last night where he basically said, you know, he kind of hopes LeBron retires soon because the longer he stays around, the more it's going to chip at what he's done resume-wise on his legacy. You know, nobody remembers Patrick Ewing in Orlando, you know what I mean? Or Seattle or whatever it was. He was at the very end.
Hakeem in Toronto. I'll give you another one.
Hakeem in Toronto. MJ in DC with the Wizards.
All right. We all remember that.
Yeah, but that's because LeBron fans shove it in our face like all the time. Like it's supposed to like just miss everything. The 11
2
years
days in a
before.
row, this gets brought up. It's really funny. I love how that happens.
Point being, LeBron, he says he's not going to have anything to do with the coaching hire, but just his simple presence being there is going to have something to do with the hire. So I don't know where the Lakers go because they are not getting better roster wise. I can't see what they can do to get better roster wise to get past a Minnesota or a OKC going forward, or even Denver. Denver just has to fix their bench, but their core is pretty much set. You know, what do the Lakers do? So I don't want to put it out there, but it's a possibility LeBron's not in LA next year. You know, it depends on how much he really wants a ring. You know, if he really wants one more ring, so he can sit at the table with Kareem and Magic and Kobe,
he'd go out east.
He'd have to go east. He'd have to go back east.
Philly
maybe
would
to
be
Miami.
Philly's the only place that makes sense cap wise right this second.
I could see him in Miami. And I could see him trying to get to New York.
That's what I was just about to say.
And mess that whole thing up.
And blow that whole team up.
Mess the whole thing up. Just
Imagine LeBron going to the Knicks and being like, "Yeah, I only want to play with Jalen Brunson. Can we trade all these guys?
Rid of all these other Nova guys?
Let's go get Anthony Davis from the Lakers."
Ooh, KD wants to play here now too. Let's get him. Let's go get KD. Oh man, this is great. I don't
think
know.
Westbrook's willing to hop in.
I'm over it. This whole teaming up with each other and just the shortcut, the audacity to try to take the shortcut in the NBA because it worked in Miami. Right. It doesn't mean it can work everywhere. I mean, you had 3 top 10 players in their prime in Miami, like doing that. You know, that doesn't happen. You can't just throw guys together. I said it before. Phoenix reminds me of the Houston Rockets in the 90s, late 90s, when they signed Charles Barkley. And it was like Hakeem Olajuwon, Scottie Pippen, Barkley. I think Drexler was still on the team, but they were all in their mid to late 30s. And it was like everyone was trying to call them a super team, and they were horrible. Barkley was horrible. He said on the podcast last night he sucked. He wished he had retired 2 years earlier. But his last check was $5 million. So it was like, they're going to keep paying me. I'm going to keep playing. So that's how Phoenix feels.
It's hard to turn down free money, basically, at that point. Anywhere, everywhere. That's why you have like players playing. Like Shaq played for the Celtics, like at 38, 39.
He played with LeBron. He played with LeBron in Cleveland, you know, and he couldn't get up and down the court. So, yeah, but he played, 20 years, 19 years himself?
Yeah, and this is why I love May. Super great time chatting basketball with these guys. If you guys aren't going, go follow Shawn Lucas on social media. Go follow Trevor Everette and his 2 Pointers podcast on social media. Follow Tobacco Road. Subscribe to the Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel. We also have our Instagram at outpocket_TRSR. But for Michael Davis, it's been Shawn Lucas, Trevor Everette, and Desmond Johnson on Out Pocket. We'll be back Monday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern time for your lunch break with more Sports Weekend coverage. We'll see you Monday.
Wait, before you go, don't let them forget. Today's Friday, so TGI Friday on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, starting at 3 o'clock with Believe in Panthers, Inside the Vault with Joe Giglio from OG Triangle Media, and a brand new franchise players with the Charlotte Observer, Scott Fowler, and WFMY News 2's Jalen Gilkey at 5 o'clock. So you can listen to all that at TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Rockingham versus Tupelo. I think I said that right. 3A state, North Carolina State baseball playoffs. I'll be calling that game 6 o'clock live from Rockingham. You don't even have to go anywhere. You can just stay right here all day. So thank you to everybody who's been supporting Tobacco Road as we wind down this season. Thanks to Mike for hosting this and putting this together every day as it grows and grows. And thanks to Trevor, thanks to Shawn, thanks to Carson, thanks to everybody that comes in and does the show each week with us and gives the tribe a little something during lunch. So
we'll see you next week.